Good morning once again. It is Mornings with Pat Kreitlow on 98.9 WXCO. I am Chad Holmes. The time is 8:22, currently 42 degrees. Here from downtown Wausau, the corner of Washington Street and North 3rd Street. And of course, every month we get an opportunity to speak with Christine Daniels, who is the executive director of the Good News Project. Christine, great to see you again.
Hello, good morning.
There's always so much going on when it comes to the Good News Project.
It's true.
One of the fun aspects, and I was just saying to you off the air that, of course, you're based right here in Wausau, and you do wonderful work here in the Wausau area, but the international aspect to what you do. You got stories and interesting people that you deal with, and I think we're going to talk about one of those interesting people and stories here this morning.
Yeah, for sure. So you said this is your local radio station. Very true. But I'm going to take you to a faraway country this morning, to the country of Peru. I just thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about the very beginnings of Good News Project. It actually all started with Father Jack McCarthy. He is a Norbertine priest from De Pere, Wisconsin, and he also is a doctor. He was stationed along the Amazon River in Peru, like back in the 80s. He was there because he was a medical doctor, so he did jungle doctor work, really. So he didn't have all of the newest and best equipment, but he did what he could to take care of the health of the people in this small village. And in walk the drug cartels, and they're trafficking drugs and major illegal things. And there's a lot of movement near and around the village that he was stationed. And he was concerned about the people. He was there delivering babies and taking care of snake bites, and he was seeing the negative impacts of the drug cartels on his people. So he speaks up against that, and he makes a little too much noise that they're not so happy with that.
Boy, you're being very nice about that. You know how that is when people with weapons aren't happy with you. That can be kind of a hairy situation.
So it got very, very dangerous, and they did put a price on his head.
Geez.
And one evening, there were a couple local villagers that came in the middle of the night, and they woke him up, and they said, "We've got to move out now." They had intel that someone was coming to get him that night. And so, they just quietly left, and they went down a small boat on the Napo River and then into the Amazon, and ended up in Lima, Peru. So he disappeared among about 7 million people for a little bit. And then the Norbertines in De Pere, their leadership reassigned him to a small Catholic hospital in St. Lucia. So if you know anything about Good News Project, our beginnings were in St. Lucia, right? So how does it all connect?
Right.
So Father Dr. Jack's brother is Dr. Chuck McCarthy, and he is a local retired ophthalmologist from the Eye Clinic of Wisconsin. And he and his wife, Peggy, went down to visit Father Dr. Jack, and they loved the country of St. Lucia. And the next year they went back with a couple friends who were musicians. They did little music workshops at different small local churches in St. Lucia. And then they met up with a priest. His name is Monsignor Patrick Anthony, but everyone called him and calls him to this day Paba. And Paba said, "We love your music. We would really love help with the housing crisis here if you think you could do something." So, you're taking a doctor and musicians and saying, "I need help with housing." So Chuck and Peg came back to Wausau, and they said, "How are we going to do this?" And Good News was really born in that question.
Boy, when you think about just that story itself, and then you think about the Good News Project as a whole, it boggles the mind on how many layers it would have to go through to get this going. I mean, I imagine in some ways the start is sometimes the hardest thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah. And, Chuck would always say this started by accident.
Yeah.
It all started by accident. But if you look at good human beings, some of them asking for help and others responding to that ask and saying, yeah, like, I think I can help you, and then figuring out how to do it. And we continue to do that today. Right? With our different programs, we have e-cycling. Well, how are we going to make a little more money as a nonprofit so that we don't have to continually ask donors for a donation, right? So e-cycling is born, and durable medical equipment. Now we have that, and we used to ship that to St. Lucia and other West Indian countries, and people started asking, how could I borrow those crutches? Could I, one of the really cool things I've always thought about our nonprofit is that we have been able to adjust to the needs of the people who are making the ask.
Boy, that has to be one of the most important aspects for what you do, because things never stay the same, do they?
Never.
I mean, in terms of what the needs are, what the hurdles are, even for yourself. I mean, I imagine those always change as well. So, boy, you have to be very quick on your feet.
Yeah, very nimble. And I feel like we are. And we always had the right people on our board of directors at the right time when we went into strategic planning and we really needed to assess, okay, what are we doing? Are we doing it well? What need do we see that still is defined within our mission statement and our vision, and how can we best serve?
Let me ask you, what's the biggest recent change? What may be something that came out of, I don't know, you can say came out of nowhere or came into your vision, your line of sight? What's been something that's recently, maybe that Good News has got involved in that maybe even surprised you a little bit?
Yeah, so our mobile help truck is our most recent, and I feel like it's very celebrated within our staff, within our volunteers, and within our community. So we began taking durable medical equipment to rural communities. We have 11 rural communities, and actually the truck is heading north today. It's going up to Tomahawk and Rhinelander. Now that the word's getting out, the response that we're getting it's pretty huge, and people are so grateful. We also want to respond in generosity to the people that we're serving. So our help director and her husband made homemade chocolate chip cookies this weekend. And so the delivery driver is delivering those to the sites that we park on every other week. So, got some Dollar General stores, Marathon Cheese, various places.
We will have more with Christine Daniels coming up a little bit later on at 8:52. Plus, we'll have our daily number of the day quiz as well. But coming up after an information update, more with Pat Kreitlow from his home studio. The time is 8:30 on WXCO.